And we don't have theme music for this part. I don't know, maybe that'll be something we add to at a future point in time.
Well, in case nobody else says that, everybody should be Irish today, so that's good.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and we will get started in just 1 minute. For those of you watching at home, we will start off with a quick call to order, followed by some information from myself. And then we will be discussing, starting off with the Arts and Beautification Committee meeting, followed by the Welcome and Diversity, Military Recognition, and the Transportation and Traffic Committee. If those of you who were not able to watch the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe earlier may have missed this, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along for anybody watching at home. This is the Reynoldsburg no soliciting sign. If you haven't noticed, the weather's getting nicer, so plenty of people out there are starting to knock, basically to give you an idea that yes, you can have this out there on your door. You can pick it up from Reynoldsburg City Hall or the police department. There's plenty of them here. They're a window cling. You can put them on your window. And anyone who comes to your door that is looking to sell something, whether it's insect repellent, solar paneling, whatever the case may be, they have to go through a process here at City Hall. They actually have to get licensed and they have to submit things for a permit, and they will have it with them. They actually will get an ID card with a photograph of themselves on it. If they don't have that, they're not licensed to go ahead and do anything here in Reynoldsburg. Now, be polite, tell them that you're not interested because they don't have a permit. And if you can, please give us a call here at City Hall sometime, maybe that day, maybe the next day if it's on a weekend, and let us know so we can reach out to those individual businesses. I saw something on social media earlier that I guess somebody from Spectrum happened to be out and was, shall we say, overly aggressive towards a couple of residents. Which is kind of interesting because we're doing a grand opening for a Spectrum store on Friday. So guess what that topic of conversation will be. I'll be mentioning that there. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that we're going to do it. Hopefully when we have our new website updated and designed, we'll actually have a page dedicated to that so you can see who has active permits. So if you're curious as to who is actively out there, that would be something. Again, not all solicitors are bad. Sometimes a number of groups have come in, even for raising funds for veterans groups and things like that, painting street numbers on on the curbs by your home, things like that. And again, solar paneling. There's plenty of things for solar paneling out there. So again, just some things that are out there for it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call to order our first part of the Reynoldsburg Community Commission meeting. This will be Arts and Beautification. The old business that I've been permitted to go, or the new business to go over everything, is our council presentation. Representatives from this group, I'm not sure who it is yet, I haven't seen that cross my path yet, will be making their formal presentation to council on Monday, relatively early on. We are hoping that this presentation will be anywhere from 5 to absolutely no more than 10 minutes. And at 10 minutes, I may do like the Oscars and start playing a musical instrument. And then we have a lot of things coming up on Monday's meeting. And so we want to make sure that we're respectful of everybody's time. So hopefully you can get your presentation within that sweet spot between 5 and 10 minutes.
It's been my plan to actually to take that bull by the horns and share some of the things we've been talking about over the last couple of months. So we discussed a little bit of that at our last individual meeting. So
sounds very good. So that is really my only thing that I have as far as new business for the council presentations. We'll make sure that your name, I believe Jessica has whoever's going to be speaking from the individual committees, and we'll make sure that the Zoom link is sent out. Council will be remaining remote throughout the month of April. And they're going to hope to come back live in May. So for this particular case, again, the Zoom meeting is the best one. Any other new business, Ravain, that you wanted to share to start before we move into some of the older items?
Just a little bit. So, we had talked about that, kind of micro cleanup effort that Meredith had brought to us. And Odella had suggested that we take that and have each, for the pilot, have each council member, pilot it in their ward. So we sort of have a jumping off point and try to replicate that concept in various neighborhoods around the city. we thought that'd be a good place to start. And, we'll of course mention that in the council presentation.
It's good thing to put council on the spot right away. I like that.
Yeah, that's the way we roll. We'll warm them up first. Well, another thing that we had discussed was possibly reviving a Taste of Reynoldsburg concept. Not sure, we didn't really have the historical background as to who was involved with that, whether it was the association or whether it was the city, or who was kind of spearheading that.
That is actually a Chamber of Commerce organization that will be doing that. I believe their date is June 22nd. But what I will do is I will connect your group with representatives from the Chamber of Commerce, so that way you guys can connect on that board. But yeah, I believe that they do. They have every intention of doing it this year, and I believe they're trying to get it to what Reynoldsburg used to be a number of years ago, where again, small dollar amounts, small serving size, things of that nature. So yeah,
awesome. And so we just kind of explored that as far as a number of options that could be possible, and then we kind of all agreed that COVID fatigue, as things are sort of moving into a safer zone, that this COVID fatigue might be a good jumping off point to kind of energize the group to be involved with that. So that was pretty much what we discussed. We kind of went back through some of the other concepts just to kind of reiterate what we were looking to do and get everybody on the committee up to speed who hadn't been at the previous meeting. So other than that, we just sort of fleshed those out and discussed moving that forward to the council for their consideration.
I'm sure I know the few members of council that I've spoken to about it, they're looking forward to hearing from this group in the welcoming and diversity. One item of old business, you kind of mentioned the evil C word, COVID. So we're basically in the process again for the Tomato Festival. So really what we've heard from the state at this point is the expectation is that once the cases per 100,000 drops to about 50, the mandates from the state level will be rescinded. The expectation is that as of the pace that we are going now, that would be something that we would look to see maybe by late May, early June. We're still waiting from the state to give some recommendations that they have for fairs, parades, festivals, things of that nature. But we do have an artist and makers mart that will not be in the too distant future. I don't have the date right off the top of my head. But I know that is very similar in the setup to what, if any of you have ever been to our farmers market. So you're going to have different vendors and things of that nature. So we'll have that one that's going to be available, which is a good thing. And then obviously the big news will be the 4th of July festivities from the city side. We are still planning on having the fireworks. The Central Ohio mayors and managers got together on a Zoom meeting today. And we're all waiting just to make sure that everything is able to happen. But my intent is to have the fireworks festival again at Civic Park this year on Friday, June 2nd. We have not heard if Columbus is going to proceed with Red, White, and Boom, but I think that most of the local municipalities are going to do something. What we don't know right now is exactly how is it going to look. Is it going to look like it has in the past, where you have larger crowds in Civic Park? Will face masks be part of it? Will we have to socially distance, things like that? So we're waiting on some of those details, but we will have it available. And one thing we are going to try and do this year, regardless of which, is we do have the ability, obviously, to broadcast on Facebook now. So what we may end up doing is we may actually be able to broadcast the fireworks on there. So for those people who don't want to fight the crowds, or if they don't want to come because of concerns with health and things of that nature, that we will still be able to have the fireworks being broadcast. We are also looking to do a little bit of a musical piece to this as well. We're looking to see if we can get some synced music in with the fireworks program. A number of other communities have done it in the past, and it's something that if we can work the logistics out and things like that, that's something we're going to try and do.
So you're looking to do like a choreographed tie-in with the fireworks? So is there somebody, I guess, who's connecting the fireworks operators? Like,
yeah, it's actually they have that's part of their services that they've offered
awesome.
in the past. The city just hadn't taken them up on that particular one. So I have no musical talent whatsoever, but I enjoyed listening to music. And I will nerd out for about 30 seconds here. Obviously when I was growing up, I was a big fan of certain movie music, Star Wars, obviously, and things like that. And there are very few times that you could hear that music in general, except during 4th of July, that and the Superman theme and some other things like that. So I was the nerdy kid that was, yes, 4th of July, but I was also listening to some of the movie music as well before CDs and things of that nature. So I'm not saying that Star Wars won't be present in it, but it might be. But we'll see. Moving after that, the community festival is planning on having the 4th of July parade. We're actually meeting tomorrow to finalize details on when the parade will take place and what the parade will look like. Again, some of those things will be very similar to whatever the recommendations from the governor's office and things like that. So we will hear that information as well. And then obviously the big one is the Tomato Festival. We're going to be doing some site work the next time that the weather is nice enough, and we're going to go out and make sure that we have everything measured out. For those of you that are watching, you could just make sure you go ahead and push mute just as possible to help kind of keep some of the background noise down. That would be great.
Yeah. My family is quite loud. I apologize.
No, don't. Are you kidding? That's why I'm not at home right now. That's why I stay here. Everybody's, why don't you go home?
I'm going to mute.
Yep. So the Tomato Festival is, again, as of right now, is still being planned. We're still waiting on some other things. But as far as the artistic part, we are going to be walking the area so we can kind of identify the areas that would be for the art displays that would be available to put out there that we have talked about here as well. And then we are going to be actively starting to that recruitment process for local communities, like community dance programs, karate, some of our multicultural groups, to do some other performance art there as well. So a lot of those things are going to be worked on as well. The other thing that, because this is an arts and music, we are working on our undercard acts for music. So we have a couple of different possibilities. We have not had anything signed yet, so that's why I can't make any specific announcements, but I know that a couple of community members want to make sure that we keep as local a flair as possible with some of our music. So we know the headlining acts on Thursday, Friday, Saturday are a little bit some of the bigger names. So we want to try and focus in on the early acts on that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night for some local things. So as soon as we have some idea about where we're at with that, I will definitely make that. Maybe that'll be something that we can try and announce by the next month, so we can kind of get that taken care of. Outside of that, I believe that's all I have specifically for updated information for arts and beautification. So I will now turn it back to Ravain, if you would like to kind of go over anything with me, and let me know if you have any other comments, questions, things like that.
As far as official business, I think that we've kind of exhausted our agenda. If there's anyone else on the committee that has anything that is new from our last meeting.
I just wanted to, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Over the noise, I'm trying to keep them to a dull roar.
You're okay.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking that if we continually focus on sort of local acts that sort of we know now, it may, or who have sort of grown up with the city over years, we may not then include people and communities who have just recently introduced themselves into our community. So if we keep falling back on local acts for our festivals, we miss people and acts that may not be as well known. And so perhaps the city of Columbus could assist with that, but I'm sure there are other acts that may not be as locally known that we could tap into. And I just wanted to note that, again, as I said, if we keep tapping into the local acts that we know, we miss out on the new groups of people who are becoming more prevalent in our community.
I think just for clarification, when I say local, I don't mean local specifically to Reynoldsburg. I was local to Central Ohio in general.
Central Ohio, okay,
Yeah,
very good.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, not specific to, I mean, there's with the music in the cul-de-sac, concerts in the park.
Those were great.
There's a lot of things that we want to spread around because we certainly do want to make sure that we reach as many communities as possible. That's one reason why we have that secondary stage to allow more of an opportunity for some of our diverse groups to actually express themselves musically. Right. So absolutely, no, perfect. I just want to make sure we understood it wasn't local just specifically to
right.
Local to the region. So, but if you, again, one good thing, if you have names of any particular musical groups that I know Sarah Reed has been very good. She was very helpful in providing some information for a couple of other groups from the regional area. But if you have somebody in mind or have a suggestion, please let us know. The intent is for us to have something going on musically almost at all times, with the exception of the pageant era, because I do not believe that the pageant committee wants, any additional music around there. I may get yelled at by that committee.
Right. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Send them to us, please.
Will do.
Steve, I thought I saw your hand up a moment ago as my my Brady Bunch screen keeps moving all around. Go ahead.
I just discovered that there's a litter pickup Facebook group that had 180 members, and I didn't even know about it. So it seems like, there might be different litter pickup groups that don't even necessarily know about each other. And I definitely want to come back to that idea of a map. And so like, if there is a map, like even if we did something as low tech as like somebody's that says like if you go on the website and there's just an image and it's like, oh, there's an area that's not highlighted. And even if it's as low tech as like somebody opens up Photoshop and just like uses a highlight marker and just highlights the area and say, this area is claimed now, and then just like re-uploads the image. Because I mean, obviously it'd be cool to have something really dynamic and like an app, and maybe we can research that, but where you can like pick a region and outline the area that you want to cover for litter pickup. But I was just thinking, like, if you saw that, if we get to a point where like half the city is being picked up, then I think it would be like cool if someone's like, oh, hey, my area is not taken. I'd like to claim that area. So it's just something I want to come back to, is trying to kind of advertise what areas are covered and what areas still need to be covered. And so that way, and people could just come and go as they please. Like, they don't have to go through us. They don't have to, they could just look at the map and just go pick it up if they want.
There are two things that I'm going to show you a picture here. I'm blocking the name of the city because I refuse to have it. But if everybody can kind of see this right in here, they have a geographical map region. And again, this is not Reynoldsburg, but this is something relatively close by, where it kind of gives you, whoops, there it goes. It gives you this idea of where the area is and what timelines are there. One concern that we have from the city point of view is not so much encouraging people to go pick up litter, but what to do with the bags after you're done with it. So one of the things that the city has is we have a very large selection of really obnoxious orange litter bags that that can use. So if people were to use those, then that way when our street department goes by or something along those lines, when we can find a way to collect those things so we know about it. That's kind of the only concern that we would have. But we're kicking some ideas around for June 6th. As you know, June 6th is typically our community cleanup day. However, we are not able to secure a shredding truck that day because of the COVID restrictions. So that's going to be moved to the fall. We're going to do one in October. Don't worry, Ohio State is not playing the day that we've selected. I know better.
Good.
But we'll have the shredder truck there. But that doesn't mean that we can't do a litter cleanup day there. And I agree, Steve. I think one of the great things we can do is we can have our organized litter groups. We can have our Planking the Berg, which is the local Facebook page. They can do it at certain times. I don't think that there's any point in time where we have to have only one weekend to do it or anything like that. I think that the more we're out there, the better. We've actually kicked around an idea at City Hall where we may take, a nice weather day, it's Friday afternoon, and a few members from City Hall will actually just go and walk up and down Main Street and do the same thing. We were joking earlier about, not all the time do I get a chance to get out of the office, but I'd be happy to go out there with my litter stick and a garbage bag and do some things on Main Street. And I think that would be a great idea too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and as far as the bags, if like I just drag it back to my house and just put it in my own trash can. So I mean, I'm assuming if it's not organized, yeah, you would just throw it away yourself.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we've seen in other communities sometimes where what happens after the fact that becomes the issue.
Yeah.
But that's still, I think anytime that we can go out and do it, that'd be great. Ruvain?
I just, once we're done with this topic, I want to bounce back to a previous side.
We'll continue to work on the litter cleanup, and I think that would be something. Obviously, you're going to be taking that before council next week, so I think that's a great way to kick off that conversation. And then keep an eye on Planking the Berg on Facebook, and then we can try and share some of that information when they're looking for volunteers. I know that they were thinking about this weekend, but I think that's been postponed to a different weekend. But that's something that we can try and put out there as well. All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and turn to Ruvain for some of the other topics.
Right. So I just wanted to sort of revisit and offer an alternate, I guess, position on what Odella had suggested. I think it is certainly a good idea to encourage art and music from surrounding areas, because obviously there's a whole lot of it, and there's a wealth of quality art. I would also say that when it's a festival that is kind of celebrating the uniqueness of Reynoldsburg, I think it is important that we pull from Reynoldsburg talent, and obviously I have some interest in that, but it's more than that. I mean, there's a lot of new talent that has been popping up, and I've lived in town now for almost 14 years, and that there has been a wealth of musical resources that have come through town and either set up shop or move through here. And so I think it's important that we make sure that we are kind of reinforcing that community pride aspect and supporting our local musicians as well.
I think it's a good balance. I think thankfully with a 3-day festival, and then when you throw in music in the cul-de-sac and you throw in some of the music in the park thing, I think that there's a lot of opportunities for it, and maybe perhaps
absolutely
at a Makers and Music Mart, then maybe that, which is not necessarily going to be known for music right away. Maybe that's an element that we add to later.
Sure.
Like I said, I think anytime that we can expand that, the better. And I realize that that's an uncomfortable thing for you, Ruvain, because you're usually very shy about your music.
Well, I guess we're lucky because in this entire area, I mean, there's so much talent, and I mean, not just Reynoldsburg, but the entire Columbus metropolitan area. There's an unbelievable amount of talent. And I think in certain occasions, we should draw from that. And I certainly agree with that. And something that is, Tomato Fest, celebrating Reynoldsburg, I think that there should certainly be an emphasis on Reynoldsburg talent in that particular arena.
Can I chime in for a second here?
Of course you can.
The city, the Visitors Bureau, and Experience Reynoldsburg, and the schools are doing a international arts and cultural festival, May 4, 5, and 6. It's a 3-day event that we're doing here, where we're asking the community to show all kinds of artistic endeavors, dancing, posters, drawing, poetry, singing, and it's going to be a scavenger hunt, and that's it's been in the works for we tried to do it last year, we couldn't do it, but it's going to be May 4, 5, and 6 in the afternoon, and it's one of those things that we've planned for. For 2 years now, the second year for now.
Where is that going to start, or where's the kind of meeting place for that?
It's going to be a scavenger hunt for people to check in at 4 or 5 stations in Reynoldsburg. One of them is the Visitors Bureau office, the library, the firehouse, Raider Nutrition, Ohio Select, And the Nehru Fashions, it's a small business on Ada Drive, and people will go in and check in, and at the end of the 3 days, we'll come up with some prizes. It's been in the works with the city, with the schools, and with the Visitors Bureau.
So is that going to be similar to sort of how Dublin does the ferry searches with the little ferry doors around town? Same kind of concept?
I'm not really familiar with that, but it's going to be a scavenger hunt. Mm-hmm. And the schools are going to set up television sets at each station where they're going to show some of their artistic talents, like dancing or singing. And people have to check in and have to scan in that they've been there. And at the end, at the end of 3 days, we'll draw some prizes. So
Les, you're just giving everything away for the next committee meeting, Les.
I'm sorry.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, but I just
perfect timing.
I just thought that like since you were talking about artistic things and the talent, this fits in with that perfectly.
All right, so we've got a lot of opportunities out there for everything. How anything else from this particular committee? We have about 4.5 minutes or so to go. If not, there's nothing wrong with ending the committee meeting early. You got to make sure you get your rest for next Monday night, Ruvain. It's gonna be one of those barn burner type of nights. Got a lot of good things going on in council. So your part will be early in the evening, so you guys will be out pretty fast.
Well, I have an early bedtime, so I appreciate that.
And what's that date? That's a week from this coming Monday?
That's this Monday, the 22nd.
Okay, 22nd. Okay, gotcha.
Council meetings are on the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I don't have anything else. If anybody else does, otherwise, I'm happy to rest.
All right. Now, is this the same link for the next committee meeting for?
No, they'll always be. Yeah, if you want to stay on for the welcoming and diversity, everybody stays on this particular link. Yeah, the only new link will be at the next meeting. You'll get something new, but no, you're welcome to stay on. There's a number of people on here. Okay. I see a few from the Transportation Committee, the Military Recognition, as well as some of our welcoming and diversity as well. So we've got a lot of early viewers out here tonight.
Should I stay on or should I read?
No, you can stay on. You're fine.
Stay on.
Okay. You're fine. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and end the Arts and Beautification meeting at 7:27. We'll have a few minutes to talk amongst yourselves, as they say, and we'll start back up with the Welcoming and Diversity Committee meeting in about 2 minutes, 45 seconds or so. Not saying the teacher that's staring at a clock all the time. So.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Ruvain. Thanks, Ruvain.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you guys later.
All right.
Everybody.
So again, while we're taking this time, for those of you that weren't joining us, for those of you watching at home, again, want to remind you that we do have a no soliciting sign here available at City Hall that you're able to pick up. You can pick it up at Reynoldsburg City Hall, or you can pick it up over at the RPD Police Department. But you can pick that up and put that on your door. No, it does not mean that no one will come to your door knocking, but what it does mean is that you can at least point to the sign and look disapprovingly at whoever. If someone does come to your door, they should have an ID badge with their name and picture on it that it clearly states who they are, where they're from. That's for residents' safety and peace of mind, as well as the safety of the individuals out there soliciting. So everybody's aware of that. If they say that they don't have it, they forgot it, or their boss has it, they don't have it. And as much as I enjoy having those discussions with people when they come to my door, because I always answer, the reality is they need to have it. So if you find somebody that is doing that, you can, and does not have a permit, please call City Hall. Let us know what business it is, because we can find a way to track them down and explain in the nicest terms possible that they need to come into City Hall and register to solicit for anything that's going on in the city. It's not a very long process, but it is something that they do need to do if they want to remain in the city's good graces. Got about 45 seconds or so left to go. I honestly could talk about anything at all times. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. I've got my green on. Hopefully you do as well. There was no pinching today at City Hall. That didn't have to be an executive order, but we did have no pinching today at City Hall. I know apparently in the past, City Hall has had some fun events around St. Patrick's Day, and then also when the March Madness tournament starts up, which we were unable to see last year. So hopefully this year with the tournament starting up, you know, that I'm sure those games might be on in a couple of offices, but work will still be done. Just as it was when I was a high school teacher, and no one was ever watching games during class time, ever. All right, it is now 7:30, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Welcome and Diversity Committee. Basically, we're going to start off very similar to what was going on before. The Welcoming and Diversity Committee will be giving their council presentation on Monday night. It is requested that the presentation last anywhere from 5 to no more than 10 minutes. If you get to that 10-minute mark, I'll be playing music to give you the cue, like the Oscars, that your time is done. I'm not going to be able to kick you off Zoom, but Molly, our clerk of council, may be encouraged to do so. But I think 5 to 10 minutes is very good. I don't think that that you've done that there'll be anything that's going too much more than that. Before we get too deep into all of the other things, and I know Les had mentioned something about the diversity presentation, I do want to take a few minutes to recognize the Welcoming and Diversity Committee for doing spectacular, fabulous work in helping me recognize National Women's History Month this month. Not only did they help arrange some of our guests, including today, the Honorable Joanne Davidson was able to join us on the 12 o'clock show, as well as guests from City Council. And then we'll have some different people coming over the next couple of weeks to recognize really what National Women's History Month means to them. And I want to thank them not only for providing and working with the public statement, but also to helping arrange that. I'm hopeful that as we move forward and this committee, you know, continues to find its footing and direction, that they are able to continue with this, with recognizing the vast numbers of groups in our community during those times of the month. So I do appreciate it. It makes my life a lot easier, you know, when some of those kind of scheduling things are taken care of. The logistic stuff I've got, but to reach out, and like I said, to reach out to Joanne Davidson today, it was a pleasure to have her on. I spoke with her a few minutes before the meeting started, and for someone who is seasoned at her age at 93, if I am half with my wits at 93 as she is, I would consider myself incredibly lucky. She and I got to talk a few minutes about school funding, and it was not superficial. It was a very good conversation. She obviously had a very vast treasure trove of knowledge from her time as the first female Speaker of the House and things of that nature. So I was happy to talk with her, as well as Meredith Lawson Rowe, Councilwoman from Ward 4, and Kristen Bryant, Council Member at Large, all kind of giving their meaning about what it meant to them, but just as importantly about what they hope to pass on to that next generation. Because Reynoldsburg is a trendsetter here when it comes to public servants in Reynoldsburg. So I do appreciate that, and I appreciate the committee's help in organizing that, and I can't wait to see what they do next. All right, now that I've all buttered you up, if you have any questions about the council presentation, feel free and let me know, but I will go ahead and turn it over to whomever it is that will be leading the charge this evening. I don't see Tatiana on, so I don't know if there's anyone else that's going to take the lead, or if we would just like to have Les talk a little bit about the multicultural event that's coming up in May. We'll go ahead and start with that. Les, if you want to go ahead and let everybody else who wasn't watching 5 minutes ago know a little bit more about the cultural festival Scavenger Hunt, go ahead and take it away, Les.
Okay, the Cultural International Arts and Cultural Festival will be May 4, 5, and 6. The time is going to be sometime late in the afternoon, probably 4 to 6, just because you know, we want to make sure that it's after the kids get out of school. It's going to be a scavenger hunt. People will go around the city and visit 4 or 5 stations, including the Visitors Bureau, the firehouse, the library, Raider Nutrition, and Ohio Select. I think that's it. And Nehru Fashions. And people will visit those sites. They will watch on a TV set certain acts of singing and dancing, and we'll have some posters shown at some of the stations, and they'll just have to see the different cultures and the different artistic things from different cultures. And the school is handling the artistic portion of it. I handled the logistics, and it's all set up. The schools will fill in, and we'll have more in the next, well, probably mid to late April to tell you like what's going on. But it's what it is kids will just interact with what everybody else is doing. They'll watch and see and register of what they see. And at the end of the 3 days, we'll give out a few prizes. And I have some businesses that have donated some prizes, and we'll give them some prizes. And unfortunately, that's not what we had in mind 2 years ago when we first planned the International Arts and Cultural Festival. That is totally different what we planned, but that's what we're going to have to do.
I think it's a good thing to start with, and obviously as we're hopefully on the downward trend of this pandemic, that I think that this is something that we can do to recognize the diversity, but at the same time get people out of the house involved, and then hopefully next year we can have something more along the lines of what you had planned originally prior to that.
Exactly.
If anyone would like to help Les with it, is it possible that they can reach out to the city and we can get them in contact with you if they want to help or contribute in some way?
Yeah, you can reach me, and then we have another meeting, a last meeting in April. Actually, in April we have 2 meetings, one in early April and one in later April, to finalize things. And if anybody wants to help, that's great. It's pretty much set up. The majority of the work is done by the schools. So.
All right. I did have one other piece that will be coming up. I talked to Councilwoman Meredith Lawson-Rowe. She was successful last year in the world of the pandemic. We actually had our Reynoldsburg's first Juneteenth celebration. We are on track to do something similar again this year. So that's something that's a little bit further out. But again, if you are interested in helping with Juneteenth, we'll make sure and get you in contact with Councilwoman Lawson-Rowe. I believe I see Siobhan Ross on. I know that she had expressed interest in helping as well. And then obviously anyone from this committee can do something. Last year, it was a beautiful socially distanced ceremony. Not a lot of people are as familiar with Juneteenth in Central Ohio. I know it's been celebrated in a larger sense in other cities, specifically Cincinnati. I know they have a pretty good festival there. But that's something that we look to kind of work on here. And as the years go by, I'm sure grow that as well to recognize basically the emancipation and the freedom of from slavery. So I look forward to that celebration again. So again, to help with that. And I think that goes along the lines with the purpose of this. Didn't mean to jump in, but one of those things, I know that that's something that I wanted to mention last time. So again, I know that we could obviously use any help with that. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it back to whom. Oh, yes.
Excuse me, Joe. What I wanted to tell you is that, as long as we're in the not cultural, but like the diversity area, the Reynoldsburg magazine is going to be published within the next week or 10 days. It's going to hit in every household in Reynoldsburg. And I'm so proud of what we did. And of course, Adela was a big part of helping us, making sure that we have diversity and we have plenty of we're all across the horizon of the kind of demographics that we have in Reynoldsburg. And Adela was a huge help in helping us do that. I think you're going to see a magazine that is unlike any magazine that I've published in the last 13 years. Our largest magazine, the best-selling magazine, and probably the most diverse magazine of including everybody that I could think of. Well, I may have missed somebody, but give me a break. But it's going to be an incredibly good, sweet, meaningful magazine. So please look for it in your mailbox. And if you need extra copies, I always have extra copies after we publish. I'll have extra copies in my office.
Agreed. I think that Les has done a wonderful job in pulling together all of the different diverse people within our community. He has just really highlighted in this magazine that we're going to receive all of that beauty and that diversity. He is to be commended by all of us for his leadership. And I'm thankful, to be a part of it. And I'm thankful. Thank you.
That's pretty much how we're going to be from here on. And Adela will keep us in line, and we'll rely on her expertise and her advice. That's the only way to be successful is to try to appeal to everybody. Well, not everybody, but like whatever we can.
Yeah.
And I think this magazine, you will see that it's incredible. I mean, I'm looking at the proof copy like today, and I can't even. I'm reading it over and over again because I'm so enthralled in such a great writing and design, and it's just going to be a great magazine. And please, all of you, when you get the magazine, and you'll get the e version of it, like I'm going to send you all the online version of it. Please send it to everybody you can, because we want to make sure that it gets spread out as much as we can.
Yes, thank you.
You've set the stage high. Now I can't wait. Hopefully,
well, and he has met the bar. He has met the bar.
The next 8 to 10 days, we'll keep our eyes open on our mailboxes.
My first check. Anything that I need that I have a question on. Actually, my first check is always Joe and Adela. Those are the two bars that I set that make sure that they're happy with what we're doing. The magazine is a happy magazine. It's a feel-good magazine. It's not a controversial magazine. It's a feel-good magazine. Right. And if it's controversial, I don't want to know it. I don't want to deal with it. But if it's a feel-good thing, we deal with it, and we love it. And I think that's what unites us together.
Yes.
All right. Let's keep an eye out on your mailboxes, everyone.
Yay. Yay.
Do we have any other items? I have one other old business item to kind of go over, just to update everyone on.
I do have a question. We talked in our separate meeting about Flag Day and the possibility of well, I know that we at one time had talked about the flags being on the poles throughout the city. But we had an idea of getting the 57 flags to represent the 57 different languages and nationalities that live in Reynoldsburg, and maybe those smaller flags that you can put in the ground, that you stick in the ground, like on 4th of July or whatever. So on Flag Day, maybe we could place them in front of City Hall. And so I didn't know, like, your thoughts on it, Mayor Joe, and, you know, like how we would raise the funds to buy the flags and how we could make that happen.
I think depending on the size, I don't think it's very cost prohibitive. I'm always, as council knows, I'm always asking for money. So I don't think that they would be surprised if that would be something that you would suggest. Stephen Sisak, our auditor, is on tonight, and Stephen hasn't shook his head no yet. So I think we're in good standing with some things. No, I think that would, I know that they've done, in Westerville, there was a house that they usually have American flags out around 9/11. And conversely, they also have at that same house when they have the World Cup going on for soccer. They always put up all the participating teams for the World Cup on there as well. I am all for anything that's going to add a little bit of color and just kind of a little bit of joy right in front of City Hall, especially now until we get the pretty plants put in there. It pretty much looks like a very drab brick building of nothing. So I know, I think that's definitely something that's worth considering. And, you know, we can always talk about, you know, we're actually talking later on in the military commission about some flags that we're going to be putting up at Memorial Plaza. So I can really, the big question is, you know, obviously, you know, the number, but, you know, now we're looking at size and cost. So that's something that we can look at.
Okay.
And make sure we're not in violation of code. We may have to get a variance from our code enforcers. Our code enforcers are really rough, so we'll have to keep an eye out for those.
Okay.
But I think for something like this, we can do maybe a 48-hour permit or something along those lines.
Okay. Okay. And the only other thing was the Juneteenth chair. I think there was some confusion about within our committee about who maybe might be heading that up. And Siobhan, what are your thoughts on that? Is she there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
As to who is heading up the Juneteenth celebration?
Yeah. I thought it was you, or I thought it was somebody else, and you thought it was you. So I don't know. I thought maybe we could clear that up today, but I don't know. What do you think?
It sounds like Councilwoman Lawson Rowe is heading that. I think I heard Mayor Beggany say that. I'm glad to help or assist in any way.
Yeah, I don't want to volunteer Councilwoman Lawson Rowe. I know that she had organized last year's, and while I'm all in favor of volunteering people who can't turn me down while on these meetings, I think that she would be more than appreciative of help in terms of organizing and suggestions about how do we make it a little bit, because I know she's going to want to make it grand. And so what does that look like? What can we do to truly celebrate this? You know, do we want to include, you know, some food, because everybody enjoys the food components of things. Obviously music, there was some spoken word, poetry. I know there was the singing of some music as well. So I know there's a lot of things with that. So Siobhan, I think maybe I'll talk with Councilwoman Lawson Rowe and have her reach out to you and the rest of the committee. And then you can, I don't know, draw straws, and whichever one loses gets to lead the committee. And I think that's usually a very fair way to do things.
Okay, that definitely sounds good to me.
Okay. I do have one other piece as we're starting to wind down. We're down into the 8-minute mark. We are working on our welcoming packet. So what we are working on right now is we are going to be getting some reinforcements. We are going to be having an intern this year from Morpsey. She is a communications major from The Ohio State University. She'll be joining us in the first week of May. She's done some great work with some other communities as well as some political groups. So she's going to be coming from Morpsey to help us out in the communications aspect, to help, you know, finish off and really work on that design. Not nearly as grand as what Less's magazine is going to be, but what we hope to have is something that is definitive of all the different things that are in Reynoldsburg as far as services, opportunities, you know, activities and things of that nature that people can look at, as well as all the political subdivisions about how do you reach your council member. And, you know, if your council member lives in Ward 4, you can find a map that says, hey, that's Ward 4. Now I know who my council member is. things of that nature, but also importantly is having enough options that specifically to start on with online, to have them in multiple languages. So that is one of the things that we would like to do, is to continue on in that. So we are going to be working towards that, specifically hopefully launching that around the same time that our new website is completely out. So we have some different language options out there as well. So those are a couple of things that are there. So
Joe, would you make sure that she gets in touch with me, whoever it is, she gets in touch with me. This is pretty much my my expertise in public relations and having reaching out and make sure that things are have her get in touch with me, because I have a number of items, first of all, to contribute to the welcome package, but also I have some ideas.
Okay. I know she'll be working with Jennifer Clemens, our communications officer. So I think between the two of them, I knew that I was, Jennifer's doing a great job communication wise. If you've noticed, the activity on our Facebook pages and our website and things of that nature, and she's going to be redesigning a website and then a welcome packet and then this and that. And I was giving her a lot of work to do, and I figured the least we could do is give her some actual help in that, someone a little bit more professional. So I know she's appreciative. So I'm sure that'll make a great team all the way across. All right. Any other comments from the Welcoming and Diversity Committee? Are we all ready to go for Monday? Who's going to be presenting on Monday night? Is it Tatiana or is it Tatiana?
Tatiana, and Tatiana's going to present. Yeah. Okay.
All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, if there's nothing else from the Welcome and Diversity Committee, we'll go ahead and call this committee 5 minutes early. So thank you for joining us. For those of you that will be joining us for the Military Recognition Committee, we will start in about 4.5 minutes. And I promise I'm not going to talk the entire 4.5 minutes, but I will talk a little bit about those NCAA brackets. If you've not filled out your bracket yet, come on, people, get on top of it. Let's get those things in. Steven, have you filled yours out yet? Have to get that done.
I don't gamble.
I didn't say you had to gamble. This is for gentlemen's fun. This is
okay.
So I've got, I'm conflicted because I've got The Ohio State University out there. And then we also have, Ohio University, my alma mater, going as well, getting to the big dance. And then some other teams that are out there. And then, so that'll be kind of fun to see how that all works out. But just want to make sure that for those of you out there that want to get that packet in, make sure you do so. And we would never gamble. There's no gambling in City Hall.
No,
not at all. So enjoy on that one.
Steve, I just want to tell you that, I enjoy working with your office so much. The Visitors Bureau we get our money from your office on a monthly basis, and it's so incredibly on time, exactly what we want, and it's so good. So I really want to have a shout out to you and to all your people in the office.
Thank you, Mr. Samaji. Are you telling me it's too easy to get money out of my department?
No, it's on time. It's on
Very
time.
good.
Like I can bank on it, and that it's the best thing this is the way it should be, and it's great. Please tell Joni that I love her. And I love working with your office.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, I know that we've seen an uptick in some of the people staying in our hotels and things like that. So they're starting to pick up a little bit, which is always a good thing, especially for that. I see Odella has a comment. Odella, or you just, oh, okay. I didn't know if you, sorry, teacher reaction, your hand goes up, you have to talk. That's just kind of how that goes. So, all right, got a couple more minutes here with that. No, I'm looking forward to, we had another good meeting with the Alliance group that'll be going in on that Bryce and Main Street location, and plans are on track for, again, a hotel of various size to begin construction, hopefully in the spring of next year when the weather breaks. So that'll be another hotel to be added to our community. And then the best part that goes along with that is the convention space that will be open to everyone. So if there is an opportunity to do a cultural festival there, maybe we will have some good, decent sized convention space and ability to go and have an event there. I know that they will have approximately, I think they said usually around 30 conventions a year. So you got to figure at that point, if it's 30, you're looking at, one about every other week or so to come in, which will be great for the tourism industry here in Reynoldsburg as well, specifically the hotel industry. And I'm sure that that will kind of spur on some other ones. Darren, yes.
Joe, new hotel. I love it.
I figured you would.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Darren, you had a question?
Yeah, Mayor, I apologize. For the welcoming committee, for those maybe who are new to Reynoldsburg, is there a website that they could look into that convention center, maybe like everywhere from job applications to a little bit about the company to so on and so forth?
Not yet. As soon as we have the opportunity to do so, there'll be some things out there. The goal right now is they have recently purchased the building that's behind the existing Kmart location right now. So they're doing some renovations inside of that, and they hope to have their staff in there by July 1. And then sometime not long after, my hope is that the Kmart location is going to come down sometime between the Tomato Festival and Labor Day. That's what we're hoping for. And then what they will do is they will start their construction in the spring, and that's when we'll have a better idea of some of those things. Because we really want to incorporate a jobs page on our website, not jobs specifically for people who want to apply for jobs in Reynoldsburg City, but for jobs in the Reynoldsburg and local area. We want to make sure that's available so people have options. And that, of course, will include any of the restaurants, the coffee shop that they have planned, the convention space, the hotel space, all of those things will be listed on there. So that'll be definitely something that's there.
Wonderful.
Do you know what's going into the Walgreens space?
Not right now. I know that there's been some conversation of some things, but that particular space is actually quite expensive. It is $4 million.
I'm sure.
If somebody has an extra $4 million that would like to purchase that particular one, feel free and call us in the city. I'm sure we can. Oh, Les has $4 million. I do. Go up.
I do.
Yeah,
I'll be over there tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll go ahead and sign something real quick with you, Les. All right, it is now 7:55, so we are going to go ahead and call into order the Military Recognition Committee at 7:55. Due to the overabundance of everything going on at our council meeting at the next meeting, we did have to decide to spread out our military recognition and traffic and transportation to our April 12th meeting. Just because there's a lot of things on there. And we wanted to make sure that as much as I'd love to keep council here till 10:30 at night, that means I have to stay at 10:30 too. But we also want to make sure that we're respectful of everybody's time. So the Military Recognition Committee will do their presentation at 7 or on the April 12th meeting. So again, whoever it is that's going to be in charge of that, feel free and please let me know. I do have one piece of new business before we go to some older things. I have reached out to, it's an organization called the Purple Heart Organization. I don't know if any of you have heard of this. In my massive amounts of free time, I had an opportunity to read an article about a number of cities becoming Purple Heart cities. And basically it's recognition for those that have earned a Purple Heart. So we are meeting with some of their representatives, hopefully sometime within the next 2 weeks to see about what we can do to get Reynoldsburg recognized as a Purple Heart city. Once we have a time in place, I'd be more than happy to send an invitation to the members of this committee if they would like to join us. They are preferring at the time to meet at City Hall, or if it's a nice enough day, we may take a walk down to Memorial Plaza and talk there as well. But I'll make sure and get that information out to you. Like I said, this is something that's just kind of come up in the last couple of days. Also, one thing that I'm planning on doing is it probably will not be available for our Memorial Day presentation. However, I'm sure many of you are aware that the stimulus package, the America Recovers Act, is providing additional funding to state and local municipalities. And what I would like to do, assuming that everything is above board and we know what we can and cannot spend this money on, I would like to take a little bit of this funds and actually use it for some of the things for the Memorial Plaza, specifically the granite pillars that would recognize the 6 service branches. We have an idea of how much that's going to cost, and it's one of those things that I think would be well worth to add to it, hopefully with the intent of having them installed before Veterans Day. So that is the intent with it. What I would like to do at that point in time is Stephen and I are talking about that. We hope to have some more guidance from the federal level, from our organizations, to let us know what is and is not eligible for those funds. Once we do, I would like to invite members of this committee to join us, and we can have a conversation with some of the local firms like OHM that had done the work already, for some of the other parts of Memorial Plaza to kind of talk about what the design should look like, what's appropriate, not appropriate, because I would like to have your contributions in that as well. So that will be sometime in the not too distant future. We're supposed to be getting the payment on that 60 days from the date of signature, which was last Thursday. So we're probably looking sometime in, let's just call it June. Maybe if we had something in early June, that we could have a meeting with that. And hopefully that will give us enough time to get something together before Veterans Day in November. But that's something that I am looking to do with some of these additional funds. So that's might be something that we can look at. With that, I will go ahead and turn it over to, I don't see Renisha on here this evening, so I don't know if there's anything else. We'll just kind of open it up to everybody. If anyone has any questions, comments about anything old, and then we can talk about our Memorial Day ceremony coming up in, believe it or not, it's not going to be that much longer. We're already in moving on the downward spiral of March, so it's going to be April, and then we'll be in May. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over. Doug, if you want to go ahead and have any commentary on this.
I was going to ask, have we made any confirmations on any of the speakers for the Memorial Day event?
We have gotten a lot of confirmations in the terms of we're considering it. It's we are high on the agenda on a couple of offices. When the original invitation went out, obviously it was early, but they did say to kind of check back in early April for reconfirmation. Invitations have been extended to Congressman Stivers, Congresswoman Beatty, State Representative Rich Brown, Governor DeWine, Lieutenant Governor Husted, and I know that there was somebody else that I was trying to figure out in terms of that, but I do have a list of some of those invitations that went out. They just wanted to have another confirmation, getting a little bit closer once some of the COVID issues came up. Director Dorman and I had gone out and we had looked about where we can look to put the original flagpoles. Originally, the thought was to put them closer to the Main Street and Lancaster area, not too far off where the display is. But I know a couple of you had actually expressed some questions about would it be better if we put them a little bit further back where the parking area is. So you have a chance that if you're doing a ceremony, you have plenty of open space where everybody's kind of looking at that. And it would also allow, if this committee chose to, as we move forward, to expand from the, from the first 3 flags to maybe other flags to go along with it, where you have the original, the American flag, the POW flag, and then a rotating service branch. Then maybe we can expand that to have the American flag, the POW flag, and then all service branch flags at the same time to some extent within that area. For us, it was a question of spacing to make sure that that was something that would be able to be done to kind of grow into it. If we kept the same location up by the corner, then we're kind of locked into just those 3 flags in that area. We would not be able to kind of expand for the rest of it. So I'd love to have your thoughts on that, what your preferences are, and kind of go from there.
Is that the direction you want to go, having them further back?
I would think, because they made up a good point. So if we have the flags, and if you're, I mean, imagine the images you're looking, you obviously want to have the flags in the background, but at that point in time, you're at that corner part of the parking lot, and is that really going to be enough room for, if we have what we hope to have eventually, which is a large number of guests, is that the best angle for it? Or would it be safer for people to kind of be more spread out in the parking area in general, focusing in on the tree line where the flags would be?
One idea would be perhaps to do some initial flags at the corner, and with the ones that will always be up, and then maybe then branch into the different military services that would be further back at a later date, in case that, in case the view was we want it closer to the corner.
Okay. I'm open to what is ever engineering possible, which is, I've learned that as long as you have money, anything is possible with engineering. But in regard, just to make sure that it fits with that. But no, that's a good idea. Let's see, what else did I have? Got that one. I have reached out to the school district, and we hope that the invitation will be extended as we get a little bit closer for the seniors that have decided to go into our armed services, so that they will be invited to come and participate. My hope is eventually also to reach out and potentially have someone from the choir, or from someone who has got a better voice than I do, to maybe sing the national anthem at the beginning of the ceremony, or something along those lines, if that's something that you're interested in as well. But something, again, we're trying to make it, I don't want to make it a showpiece, but I want to make sure that we do a respectful job of recognizing what Memorial Plaza means and the contributions of those in our military forces. So if you have any other suggestions with that, that would be fine. I know we are still looking for guest speakers that have had military service in the past that would like to speak on those issues. If you have anyone that you could forward a name or suggestion to or extend those offers, please let me know. We'd be more than happy to have someone who isn't me talking. I was not, unfortunately, I was unable to serve in the military due to a medical condition, but I would love to have somebody else there that, because it just means more. Okay. So would any of you be interested in meeting with the representatives from the Purple Heart organization when that comes?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll make sure and extend those invitations out, and we'll try and get. I know they were looking to meet in the morning, but again, we'll see what kind of schedules come up, and we'll organize something so everybody can be there. To what extent we can do with it, I'm sure it's going to be more intense than just being designated a city. I'm sure there'll be some other things that we can do with it, but I felt that it was, the more I read about the organization, the more I thought that that would be something that would be perfect for our location. And hopefully the meeting will happen. The meeting will happen long before our Main Street work will begin, because at that point, I don't think anyone wants to walk on Main Street anytime soon.
When will that start?
Well, we don't know ODOT, where ODOT is going to start. I would like to use common sense, which means that this is not what's going to happen, that ODOT would start at one end of Main Street, down by basically the Burlington Coat Factory, and then work its way slowly up Main Street. But we don't know that specifically. We do know that the Old Town location, basically from city, just around City Hall, Davidson to Jackson, that will most likely start in July.
Okay.
So the Memorial Plaza ceremony for Memorial Day will be fine, and it better be done by Veterans Day.
Is that slated for July because of the underground work that's going to schedule as well?
Yeah, the underground work is there, but a lot of it also has to do because it's OPWC grant funded, that money gets deposited in the early part of July. So that's part of that as well. The schedule may start. You may see some things preliminary about it. There's some utility work that's going to be needed to be done. AEP, we're looking at maybe reducing some of the power lines in that particular area. So they're going to have to make sure that they're prepped and ready to go. There's just a lot of things with it to go. It's going to be a monumentally huge project all the way through. You're probably not going to see much of anything from Davidson to basically past the bridge. But once you get to that bridge area, that's when you're going to start to see a lot of things kind of change and morph into what the hopeful vision will be.
Mayor, what was the date of our presentation again?
Your date would be the first meeting in April. That would be, I believe, April 12th.
That's the same meeting. It's 2 days before our next meeting.
Yes.
For the Community Commission. And I think our chairperson will be back from Florida by then.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we have something prepared or not. I missed the last meeting.
So plenty of time. That's one advantage of not having to go till April, is you've got plenty of time to do it. And if you need to have a meeting in between then, and maybe that'll be something that when we get the information from the Purple Heart, that would be something to add to it. And then the conversations when we meet out there, we can talk about flag placement and potentials for that as well.
And George, have you had any contact with any veterans that'll be able to show up on Memorial Day? Maybe have like the oldest veteran. Oh, you're still on mute.
Nope, still on mute. Let me see here. You're still on mute. I can't unmute you. So you'll have to see if you can try again. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm currently in Florida right now. And when I get back, I have a couple feelers out, trying to get a couple of speakers. And I'm going to follow up on that when I get back, and I'll let you know. I will be a counselor for that presentation too, Steve.
How's the weather down in Florida?
Oh, hey, it's been 89, 90, 84. Wake up in the morning, it's 82. No snow, blue skies.
Okay, we got our 36 and overcast, and 20 minutes of sun a day. So we're
I don't care what anybody says. The best remedy for all this COVID stuff and the restrictions and all that, there's no restrictions down here at all. Everything's wide open, and it's just best remedy going. Best doctor description going. Coming down here to get away from all that stuff up north. But I sure do miss it though. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, we'll keep Ohio nice and ready for you when you come back. All right, as I would expect from a military recognition point of view, we are always on task and ahead of schedule with that precision. Are there any other questions, comments, topics for the Military Recognition Committee? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do that. I will, again, once I have a meeting location and time, I'll go ahead and get that out to everybody. And if you're able to attend, that would be wonderful. And then I'll share the information afterwards about what it will take for us to become a Purple Heart City, as well as following up on some of the flag placements and everything else. And again, we'll continue to send out those reminders the first week of April to our other elected officials to make sure that they have the opportunity to join us on Memorial Day.
Thank you.
With that, thank you very much. For those of you still staying on for the Transportation Committee, we'll start in just about 10 minutes. For those of you leaving us, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I think there's something to be said for dead air. We're not supposed to have any, so I'll talk a little bit about it again. For those of you that weren't paying attention or maybe joined us a little bit late, we do have our no soliciting signs that you are able to pick up here at City Hall, or you can pick them up at the Reynoldsburg Police Department. You are not allowed to solicit for any products unless you have a permit from the City of Reynoldsburg. The permit is an ID card that will actually have the picture of the individual on it. So you can actually see what they look like and they'll be identifiable. So if they say that they don't have it, they weren't given one, or their boss has it, they're probably not telling the truth. Feel free and just let us know at City Hall what business is out there that may be part of that. And then we can give them a kind reminder about the process for permits. I mentioned earlier that I saw something online that somebody was going around the neighborhoods from Spectrum today. We do have a Spectrum store that's opening up on Friday off of 256 in the Taylorwood Shopping Center. So I'm sure I'll be able to mention that to some of our representatives out there. It's not a hard process to get registered. It's just something that we need to do.
Is that you showed it up to the cameras like a sticker, or is it?
Yeah, it's a window cling. So that way it's not a sticker. So it's on there. I just have it on there because it's easier this way. So it's.
And they're available at City Hall?
Yeah, we have them at City Hall. You can pick them up at the building department desk. We also have them, tomorrow's court day, so you can pick them up at that kiosk at the beginning as you come in, or okay. You can pick them up at the police department as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Brett, I was not expecting you. Shouldn't you be recovering and being healthy and stuff? Come on, what are you doing?
I am.
All right, everything good?
Yep.
All right, was thinking about you today.
Yeah, they found another small occlusion, but they said it's already started making its own natural bypass. So he said, nothing to worry about.
All right.
We'll just keep an eye on it. He said, somewhere down the line, there may be a bypass in my future, but he said for the present time, he's not going to worry about anything.
Okay.
So
I guess that is of all the news you could have gotten, that is not that bad of news, is it?
Nope. I was happy with it. I was pretty sure there was something going on because I had last summer when I was out mowing the yard, not granted it was 90 degrees when I was doing it, but I had a little episode where I got short of breath and lightheaded and everything else. But with my family history, I said, well, I pretty much insisted that he do the stress test again. And when he did that, he said, something's not looking good in there again, so we need to go take a look. So,
okay.
Better to find out ahead of time than after I have a massive MI.
This is always good for the preventative part. So, well, we got about 6.5 minutes or so before we get started. So I know in case anybody else joins on, I know we have had actually a lot of interest in our Traffic and Transportation Committee. So we'll have a few new members that I see out here already. So we'll get started in just a few minutes for that one. And in the meantime, if you have questions about absolutely anything else other than with traffic and transportation, I want to keep that for our committee, but anything else, let us know. Earlier this evening, we talked about, some of the events that are going to be coming up. It looks like the governor's going to be, if the governor gets rid of the mandates that are out there, if the case numbers go under 50 per 100,000, which right now we're on track to go through sometime in maybe May, maybe early June. We're at about 90 cases per 100,000 as of last week, so it may have dipped a little bit more than that. Those mandates would disappear, which would be beneficial in terms of making sure that we have some of our community activities. We did talk about our fireworks show that will be, as of right now, we're scheduling to go on that Friday, July 2nd, with a great fireworks show, and we're going to add a little bit of music to it this year, which will be nice. That's synced up with our fireworks, so we'll do that. We'll probably also be broadcasting it on Facebook. So for people who are unable to make it or don't want to deal with the traffic until we get that extra way out of Civic Park, they can watch it online there, and that'll be a good thing. We talked about a little bit about the Tomato Festival. Again, hopefully that some of those restrictions will be out of there. We talked about making sure we have a lot of good activities coming on for music, dance. We're not going to be able to do like a stand-up, sing-along night karaoke style, but there is a little bit of temptation out there for that. We'll be going out and marking off some areas a little bit just to get sure that to make sure that our spacing is pretty good. And everybody, local communities are getting together, and we're having those conversations about what kind of activities are going to go on. I know earlier, I think NBC4 had a list of a number of activities that are scheduled to go on. I know a lot of people's favorites, the Circleville Pumpkin Show is back on for later on this year. So I know that for me, I'm going to be happy with it. And I think that a lot of people are going to go out. I think even if you might not have gone to some other festivals that are out there, I think you're going to see a little bit more of a spike in things just because everybody has a lot of that pent up, I want to get out, I want to get out. And so boom, they're out, that type of thing.
I think with more and more people getting vaccinated, it's going to help too, if you can get in to get one.
Yeah.
They're on free sites and nobody's called me yet.
Well, what I ended up doing is I looked at the Kroger location at the Kroger site, and I found that when I checked, I would check about every half an hour, every 45 minutes or so. And believe it or not, when you check frequently, different dates come up. I know that some people have had issues where they get that first lock-in date, but they don't have the second shot. But I've also heard that if you're looking at some of those other sites, that does help. And again, I think the governor made a point to say earlier that, everybody, that is now meeting that 40 and under or 40 and over category this Friday, there's obviously going to be a huge spike of people who haven't registered yet. They kind of filled up a lot of these spots the rest of the week. And then obviously on Friday to beyond, you're having a lot of people hit in that area to increase that time frame as well.
Well, and I may try to go through and switch browsers. I mean, I did that with my wife when she was trying to get in so she could get hers through to school.
Yeah.
And as long as I was using Chrome, I couldn't get anything. I switched to use the Firefox browser and got in like that.
Oh, really? Huh. Well, I know that at least for the location over at the Livingston campus, I know that their big issue, because my wife was trying to log on and get on there as well. She got the really great time of 7:45 on a Friday night. Just what everybody wants to do is go stand in line and get a shot at 7:45 on a Friday. But yeah, it took her some time to get that as well. So
yeah, I think my wife ended up with 7 o'clock on Wednesday. So
yeah, she didn't suffer. She the first shot was fine. Her arm was a little sore. The second shot, she didn't suffer any other side effects aside from being very tired. But she is also a teacher teaching in a world full of COVID. So I really don't know if she wouldn't have been tired anyway. This may have just helped it along a little bit.
I think part of it depends upon exactly which vaccine you're getting to.
Yeah,
the only thing she had was right where the injection site was a little sore.
Just a little, yeah. I was telling somebody earlier the same thing, that when you're doing it, I've been told, stretch out, move your arms, just every so often. Don't let it get kind of cramped up and everything. So
my niece is the head of nursing for daytime up at Knox Memorial up in Knox County up Mount Vernon, and she got the first one. She said her arm and everything felt sore for about 8 hours on the first shot. And when she got the second one, she said she got the shakes, She felt like she'd been hit by a truck, and she couldn't even get out of bed for about 12 hours. And then it started getting no better.
So my wife was lucky enough, she actually scheduled to go with a couple of some friends of ours that are also teachers, and they ended up going. And so, you know, you get your shot on Friday night, and then Saturday morning, probably about 10 o'clock, you know, my wife sent out a, you know, little quick message to everybody. It's like, okay, how's everybody feeling? She had, like I said, she had the kind of the fatigue out there, but that was about it. But the other two actually ended up developing kind of a fever and the chills and, you know, things like that. But by Sunday, everybody was fine. But yeah, for that little bit. So it was really interesting to see, you know, it's the same shot given at the same time, the same, even the same first shot, same brain, all of that stuff, and how the different body chemistry works to deal with that. Things that I am not nearly as well versed in as I could possibly be. I have enough going on otherwise. We've got about 1 minute to go. I think we have most of everybody on here. So for those of you that are just joining us, I'll kind of go through a little bit of what I've been telling everybody all night. The weather is getting a little bit nicer. So if you want to take a look at our no soliciting sign, our no soliciting sign is out there. You're able to pick one of these up at City Hall. They are a window cling, so it's not a sticker or anything else like that. I just have it taped so it's easier for me to show. But you can come pick it up at City Hall or the police department, and you can have that out there. It does not mean that no one is going to knock at your door. It just means that you can point and look disapprovingly at those that do. If somebody does knock on your door, they should have an ID badge on them that actually shows that they are certified and have permission and are permitted to sell whatever it is that they're looking at in the city of Reynoldsburg. It'll have their picture on it. It'll have the city of Reynoldsburg's branding and things of that nature. If they tell you that they don't have it, if they tell you that it's with their boss or they left it in their other pants or something along those lines, they probably did not. You know, you don't have to be, no one has to be rude with it. We understand they're trying to make a living, but if you can just let the City Hall know, give us a call and let us know who's out there doing it so we can make a phone call to the business itself and kindly remind them of the process. I saw on social media earlier this evening that Spectrum, which tends to be one of the more frequent people out there, was out. And Spectrum is actually opening a brand new store on 256 in the Taylor Square area on Friday. And I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to talk to their managers about there, just to kind of put a little bug in their ear on that stuff. All right, with that, I have wasted the time there that we need to. So we're going to go ahead and call to order the Traffic and Transportation Committee. So we have a lot of things to talk about here, actually. But we're going to start off first talking a little bit about council presentations. It will be, because of the amount of things that are on the agendas for the next couple of weeks, the Council President Jenkins and I thought that it would be best to split up our committees into presenting to council on two separate occasions. So Arts and Beautification and Welcome and Diversity will go this Monday, and Military Recognition and Transportation and Traffic will present on April 12th. And it's a 5 to 10 minute presentation. It can be anything that you need within that 5 to 10 minutes. The closer we get to the 10-minute mark, the more likely it is that I'm going to play music and be my own Oscars and probably cut people off as we get a little bit closer. Brad, will you be presenting that night, or I didn't know if anyone else was going to be doing it?
Well, I thought I would make a presentation and basically just, let council know what we've been discussing, some of the possible solutions that we've approached and are looking at, and some different things like that. And I also had approached Kristen and see if he would like to make a little bit of a presentation about CODA in there.
Okay, which is a good thing. So I'm going to give you a couple of updates on where we're at. I'd say maybe three and a half weeks ago, I ended up sending out a letter to the residents that live on Priestley from Wagner Road, really all up to Quarry Park Drive. Every one of the residents, including those that lived on Windriff, basically kind of giving them an update on what this committee has talked about, what we at City Hall have talked about internally about future plans to deal with the issues that are on Priestley. And I asked for feedback from all of them. We've gotten some information back, so we're going to kind of compile that. The deadline to get that information to us was the 22nd. We've gotten some emails, we've gotten a couple of phone calls, and we've gotten some good suggestions and some feedback on what we're looking at. So that I'll be able to share with you prior to the next, to when you guys present to council, and hopefully we'll have a plan of action at that point in time. The big concern with it are there was a lot of acknowledgement that sometimes speeding is going to be a hard thing to handle on Priestley because it's going to be hard to stop them outside of having, a squad car there every single day. And even then, that's not necessarily going to stop everything.
Mm-hmm.
There were concerns about the stoplights, people going through the stop signs, and there was no real negative feedback towards the LED lighting that would possibly go around the stop signs to flash as just another way for an indicator. There was some encouraging news about the speed indicators where it flashes and lets you know, hey, your speed is whatever your particular speed is. So we're going to work with RPD to figure out exactly what the best location that you would have one of those locations on there, one for a westbound, one for an eastbound, without trying to clutter up the territory a bit. The one thing that I know that safety forces have definitely recommended against is closing off, I believe it's Dickens, I always continue to mess that up, the crossway between Priestley and Kingsley. There's been a lot of conversations about what previous, and by previous, I'm talking a long time, 20 plus years ago, about what led to them opening that particular location up. But I do realize that RPD and the Truro Fire Department are not in favor of having that closed off just because of response time and the ability to get emergency vehicles in and out of there. I know there are a couple of other suggestions that came up, including cameras. Unfortunately, that is an issue that is legally difficult to do here in Reynoldsburg, in Ohio in general, because they've tried to do it before. If you remember, they had the traffic lights that are out there that would issue citations. I think Broad and Reynoldsburg New Albany Road was one of the more frequent places. I may or may not have gotten something at that point in time. I forgot. But that's one of those things I know that they suggested that. I just, unfortunately, legally, there's just nothing we can do with that particular suggestion. It's not that it isn't a good one, and I think it would keep people honest, but I don't think it's there. We also talked about raised intersections specifically at Windriff and Quarry Park Drive to help slow that particular process down. Maybe some better markings to denote that there is a cross space between the two, things of that nature. One other part that was, again, no one has come and said, yes, we need speed bumps. No one has said that to us. And the other one is no one has said, let's do the rumble strips. If anything, people are very passionate against both of those options. But what we'll do is once the 22nd comes and goes, I'll compile a list of everyone's suggestions and what everyone's feedback is, and I'll make sure and have all of that sent out to this committee so you guys can take a look at it and have a conversation on that before we move forward and figure out exactly what steps that we can take to alleviate the issue there. And then hopefully we can replicate some of these potential solutions on Priestley and other areas that suffer, specifically, Bryce Road. Really, Bryce Road north of Main Street is another area that we do get a lot of complaints about, specific that are similar to issues that Priestley is facing.
That's why I thought if we could, try the LED even speed limit signs and stop signs and different things like that. It's a little bit less obtrusive and not nearly as expensive if you were to put in the raised intersections and this and that, whatever, and then they still don't work, and then the public is not happy with it, and you have to go tear them out.
Yeah.
So I figured that is a place that we could start and see if it does make a difference. And if it does, and it happens that, or if it doesn't work and you have to go to some other thing, well, like raised intersections, different things like that, then you can take the LED stop signs and speed limit stuff, use them in different locations.
Yeah.
So
one concern that came up that, a little bit of, it was, combination of personal responsibility, but another question came up about the one side, only limited to parking to one side. That was actually kind of split. I don't want to say it was 50-50, but it was a lot closer than I imagined in terms of people actually wanting to get rid of that. The thought process was that if you had cars parked on both sides, that in itself would slow people down. I don't recall what it was like. Obviously, that was a while ago when that was allowable. I don't know what the issues of traffic incidents, somebody taking a rear view mirror off or something like that, if that increased with it. I get where the people were talking about, because if you have to kind of weave your way in and around some of the cars, that would ultimately slow you down in that regard. But at the same time, there are concerns about safety, about, can a fire truck go through? And if a fire truck has to go through and it's two cars parked relatively close to each other, is that fire truck just going to plow through them like they're nothing to get to a burning house? If my house is burning and somebody could be life endangered, I'm pretty sure that that fire truck will go right through it. But that's something there. And so that's why I want to make sure everybody knows what everybody was saying, so everybody hears what the suggestions are and are aware of it as we continue to get feedback.
May I jump in here?
Absolutely, please do.
Thank you. Obviously, I'm the new kid on this committee, but I wanted to mention a number of things you were talking about were the stoplights with the light on. And one of the issues is, and especially at right now at Wagoner and Priestley, that there is no physical residence that would be irritated by that flashing light, because the houses are fairly far away. They're not right at that. Where up at Quarry Park, it would determine which location that you would actually be wanting to use that flashing light, because there's 3 stop signs there. So that would make a more of a brightness at the nighttime. Now with the raised street where they do the speed bumps, etc., the street department really doesn't like those because of the damage and the conditions onto the trucks. If they're plowing snow or if there's other water conditions, it tends to be a damming effect, which could build up ice, etc., especially there on Priestley, as I'm referencing. But the rumble strips, if you're living right there, that rumble is going to go right into your home. So there are other conditions that do that, obviously with the fire trucks, etc. And you mentioned the parking on one side. I remember back before Priestley actually opened up, there was a 3 or 4 ton of dirt stop there at the end of Priestley, and it was a closed community per se. But the problem is that the fire trucks and emergency vehicles could not get through because of the width of the streets. And I don't know what the width of the streets are going to be in the new construction that MI is doing, but the width of the streets require a certain width to eliminate wiping out mirrors or sides of vehicles for emergency vehicles. So whether it's 32 feet wide or more versus 26 or 28 feet wide. And I believe at the time the safety, whoever the safety community people said that parking on both sides was going to be a concern. And that was why they ended up taking one side of the street saying no parking, if my memory serves me right. And Brett, you have probably been around longer than I have.
This is Tamara. I've been here 21 plus years, and that is correct. And as you mentioned, none of what we're seeing on, and I live on Priestley, none of what we're seeing occurred until after the 2 subdivisions where it was blocked off was opened. So the speeding, the issues with the amount of traffic, all of that started after the street was opened. And you are correct that because what we were told at the time is that the width of Priestley was not a regulation width for a street for through traffic once they opened that area up, which is why they enforced the parking on one side of the street. So I've kind of been through it all, through the opening it up, the parking on one side of the street, the stop signs, the police being out and watching, and nothing has really deterred any of what we're seeing. So I love the neighborhood. I don't want to leave, but I just really don't see a lot of what we're proposing, how that's going to resolve the issues. But I'm willing to, be a part of the team and try to work through and come up with some suggestions. So
thank you, Tamara. I know once, and Tamara probably remembers this, once not only that it was open, but once that it was provided that it opened up at Priestley and Hilton, we had 4,000 more new homes that opened up into Priestley up to Taylor Road. And that became the time where the traffic really became a through street because you now had it from Taylor all the way to Wagoner. And
that's correct.
And Dickens, I used to live on Hilton when the only way in and out was Dickens. And so had Dickens washed out or not been there, our community would have been very isolated. Well, we called it Green Tree North. And that area was very isolated. The local traffic was all we had there. So now putting something on Priestley. Now, if it's possible to actually widen Priestley to allow for that, then you would need to go all the way from Wagner to Taylor to make that happen, in my opinion.
That was one of the suggestions that was out there. And I'll be honest, that was, I can't remember who suggested that. Obviously, there's a very large cost factor to that, to widen it. And then the rest of it is I would honestly have no idea how the community, how residents on Priestley would feel about that. I think it is absolutely 100% correct that that road is significantly, it is more narrow. You know, when I first started kind of looking at it and seeing it, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm used to driving on a road. I'm not measuring how far the distance is between it. Other than you had that different feel when you drove on Priestley. You knew that it was not as wide as other ones. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just kind of go through it. So I, you know, drove through and, you know, you see the differences. And then I came back and I started Googling it out and doing some measuring distances. And it is a significant difference in things. You know, I can't speak for what previous councils and previous administrations did as how that opened up in the first place, other than what you were all telling me, which I'm very appreciative of. I appreciate the history of how this has worked out. And then the other group of it that I'm hearing from, again, is our safety and security forces as far as that's concerned. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be. I think part of the speeding, at least at the beginning of the intersection, as you're coming off Wagner, will be alleviated with the traffic light. And then hopefully with that median that was in the picture that the residents in that area were sent. What I have noticed in the times that I've kind of driven in that area is as people are moving, they're kind of gunning it to turn into the neighborhood. So, or they're gunning it to turn out of the neighborhood is to gain some speed, just so that way they can avoid traffic from other directions. With the traffic light and a little bit of a decorative median in the center, you know, that urge to rush will not be there. So I think that might be part of the issue. However, that does not address the stop sign issue. You know, Fred, you had mentioned where the lights are and where, you know, which direction, especially if you're looking at Quarry Park Drive, which direction would be. I'm under the impression, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that anybody basically going westbound on Priestley is that first stop sign that you're going as you're going west that people typically go through. I don't believe that I've heard many complaints of people blowing through from Quarry Park to get onto Priestley, but in the other two directions going, I guess at that point it would be as I'm getting my, from east to west on Priestley at Quarry Park was the area that's an issue with the stop signs. Again, but that's something that I would love to hear your take on.
Actually, this is Tamara again. Just over the years, because I've had dogs since I've been here, so I'm always out walking. And my original neighbor to the right of me was a Whitehall police officer, and he had his fuzzbuster out, and we would sit out there some days. And really, where we're seeing the roll through, and what I've seen just over the last couple of days, and I've even seen like FedEx trucks, I've seen other business trucks at Windriff and Priestley, literally, they do not stop at all. They drive through it as if that sign is not there. So, and then as far as the speed is concerned, they're picking up speed at the curve where the pond is and shooting straight down Priestley to Wagner, and vice versa, coming out of that curve, going toward Quarry Park Drive. They're using that as a speed straightaway as well. So, you know, with having the raised area where you were talking in the intersection, that doesn't really address where they're just gunning it, kind of like I mentioned in my letter, like it's the Autobahn. They're just flying, you know, right out of those curves, going both directions. But I've seen just in walking over the last week, the majority of the time, the stop signs are being run through at Windriff and Priestley.
Okay. No, that's good to know. That's good to know because again, that's typically, and I know Ken, I think you actually live closer to the Quarry Park.
Yeah, actually right out this window is the corner of Windriff and Priestley.
Okay. Have you clocked how many cars have gone by through the stop sign since we've started? Because
it's not even worth clocking because most do. But I've been working at home now during the day. So my fun part now is I watch the police officer on his motorcycle that sits right outside the window. And he'll just wait. He waits till somebody's really flying through, not just people that roll through, but I mean, people that are flying. Okay. And he'll park there. He just hands out tickets all day. So.
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm concerned with. You know, not to get into a sob story, but when I was actually much younger, I was 10 years old. I was actually hit by a car in a neighborhood, in a residential neighborhood, that was speeding. They were going 55 miles an hour, and so it's and actually that led to speed bumps in Strawberry Farms over in the far reaches of Westerville. So I'm very cognizant. I want to make sure that we try and find some sort of opportunity to find a cost-effective, reasonable solution for everybody's issues with this, because what I don't want to happen is I don't want somebody to be hit, especially if you're looking at a crosswalk at Windriff, or if you're looking at people rolling through a stop sign at accelerated speed. I don't want this to be a, why didn't you do something after the fact? I want to try and figure out some solutions with it. So I'm very happy that you guys are giving me the feedback that you are with this particular thing. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
This is Tamara again, just to give a little bit more history. The original neighbor that lived in the gray stucco house on the corner of Priestley and Windriff would literally videotape that intersection for days and hours, and would record the cars that were just rolling through there. And it was brought up to the commission and the mayor and the police at the time, and still nothing was really done, even though they could see it right on video. And in that same curve, as you're coming west from Quarry Park Drive, or whatever that corner is there, as you're coming around that curve, there was a young girl that was doing 60 miles an hour. And this has been years ago. And she jumped the curb and ended up crashing into a front yard where there had been young kids playing just hours earlier. So
that story I do remember. I have heard that particular story before.
Yeah, that's a blind curve coming westbound there.
It is.
It is.
And just a few months ago, my neighbor across the street, her mailbox got taken out.
Yeah, mine's been taken out twice.
As a president of the HOA right now, the police department has been working with me, and I've been receiving, and I'm going to ask them now, I noticed the box was out again on Priestley, and I was going to get the latest statistics, because I received the current ones and previous ones of the days, times, hours, number of cars, how many were speeding. I mean, it's very, very detailed. And you probably have a copy of it from this police department as well, because the sergeant was sending them over to me on an email. So I had an opportunity to work with him. And then we also did the review like you did on the different options of the pros and cons, alternate things, in addition to temporary speed bumps. And so it's still allowed for fire trucks, et cetera. And depending on time of day, when the motorcycle officers would sit there. So yes, we need something. And now one thing that I know I didn't see on the list was possibly at here in Windriff, where I live, and up at Quarry Park. And Quarry Park also has a speed problem between Ruskin and Priestley as well, because the same people that go up there don't go any less. And the owners up there have told me that they have the same issue as Priestley. But what's the thoughts as far as installing both at Dickens, at Quarry, and at Windriff, doing a roundabout?
I don't think we can get the right of way for that.
Yeah, I'd have to, without looking at a, you know, again, I know engineers are always saying if you have enough money, you can do anything, but I'd have to look and see where that would be, because I know you have kind of like an auxiliary entrance to Pine Quarry Park in that general area, but at the same time, then you also have some property owners in that. That's something, let me take, that's the first I've ever heard of that particular suggestion. Let me take a look and see with our engineer to see what the possibility would be on something along those lines for it.
It would definitely improve the view, and we would have more grass and tree area in that, if it's just like what you're doing down at Wagoner and Priestley with the divide it doesn't need to be a large roundabout, but it could actually be one that really improves the quality of our street decor.
That will be, I'm happy.
I forget which intersection it is, Mayor. There used to be a roundabout over on First Gate, Rotoball, First Gate, somewhere right around that area. Actually, I think it was on Rotoball, just before you get to First Gate. There used to be one in the middle of the intersection there. That intersection is probably almost twice as wide as either one of these that we're talking about. And the fire department and the school buses couldn't hardly get around it. That would give you an idea of how much room it might take to put a roundabout in a residential neighborhood like that.
Well, I think any significant amount of pavement you add is going to affect French Creek, and that's going to be really difficult to get permits for that.
Well, that'll be something that I think that we can, I'm happy to talk with our engineer and take a look at it and see what the viability is. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to, when this is all over with, I don't want to leave any options unexplored. And so that's what I don't want. I think that from what I'm gathering is this is an issue that has been, honestly, it's been here since they opened up Dickens. And
Tamara, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I just want to find a way to kind of figure out with some kind of ultimate or as best resolution as we can. And I don't want to have to come afterward and say, well, why didn't you think of this? So I'm glad that you guys are letting me know.
Tamara and Ken have both mentioned two things, that the speeding is not at the intersections.
Yes, it's not.
Is that. So putting in a raised area rather than a speed bump in the area where the actual speed is located would be more of a thought, because it's easier for the snow plows and the buses and the fire trucks to deal with than it would be to have a speed bump itself.
Okay. All right, we have about 1 minute left, and it's not that I want to kind of cut anybody off, but I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. As for those of you that are brand new to this, Brett has been very good about having, I guess you'd say, individual committee meetings where it's just the traffic committee meets, and it's a lot more flexible. And then you have the entire time to do something. So I don't know if Brett, if you want to reach out and try and set something up maybe in the next couple of weeks, and then we can work on getting some of the roundabout information, the data that Fred had been talking about from RPD, the most recent data, and maybe have a committee meeting specifically with those of us here on the call now to spend a little bit more time dedicated to talking about this. Because the reality, even though we're talking about Priestley, we're talking about any road in Reynoldsburg that there's traffic on.
Right, exactly.
So I think that this is definitely a good direction.
Mayor?
Yes.
Did you have Jessica send Tamara and Ken all of the different traffic studies that have already been done, the traffic counts and different things, if they don't have them?
Yeah, that would be nice to have, even though I'm probably privy to some with my original neighbor, again, being a Whitehall police officer. He was able to get access to stuff in Reynoldsburg, but it's been a while, but that would be nice to have.
Absolutely. We'll get that out to you.
And one of the other things you might talk to Ryan Andrews about when you do talk to him, the suggestion about widening the street, probably one of the things he will tell you, and you probably know this because of what's being discussed on Main Street. Yeah. When you widen the street, it actually makes people go faster.
Yes, it would. I would agree with that.
Yeah, but again, like I said, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that whatever suggestions are coming in from the community, that everybody's going to know about it, so we can have that discussion and kind of go from there. I don't want to eliminate anything or prohibit any of you from seeing what the options that are being suggested.
And if Jessica could CC me as well, please.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get everything to the entire committee. Thank you so much for everything on this. I appreciate the new members coming in and letting their voices be heard on this one. We'll get all that information out to you sometime tomorrow. And then Brett will work with you to kind of establish a date to have the next traffic committee meeting where it's just you guys, so you can actually spend as long as you want to without a prearranged time limit on things.
Just
okay,
real quick,
that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Real quick to let everyone know, you're talking about the history of Priestley out there. I was actually the one that dumped the gravel in the middle of the road when it was opened up. I was the one that installed the no parking signs, and I was the one that installed most of those stop signs. So I have a pretty good history.
It's all Brett's fault.
It's all Brett's fault. There we go.
There we go. I appreciate that, Brett. All right.
So,
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. And again, we'll get something together, and I'll make sure and send anything else that we have from previous meetings, as well as some of the other options and things. We'll make sure we get all of that to you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Good